Hello, I'm Robin Gibson, and this is your Harvard House Money Morsel. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Click the bell so you get a notification of when we release a new video. I'm sitting today with Willie Pelser. Welcome, Willie.
Good morning.
Willie, we've had some updated data. I think we had local inflation and retail sales. Can you maybe give us a little bit of highlights as to what the news was?
Yeah, Robin, on the inflation, we've talked about the inflation this year quite a lot. So I think what's just interesting in these numbers, there's a bit of a slowdown in the official number that's published. And just to reiterate, people mustn't read that as prices are coming down. It's just they increasing at a slower pace.
Okay.
So that's what we need to take into account. But from the overall numbers perspective, there's two things we focus on. Is the headline number, because that's what salaries and lots of things are based on. And then there's a core number that takes out the volatility. And that volatility is what we've spoken about before: petrol, rent, those type of things. Just take that out so that we can see what is the real price level that touch your pocket and my pocket.
Yeah.
So overall, yes, a good number, but it's not indicating that the Reserve Bank will slow on their pace of increasing interest rates. So that will still happen. Yeah, and as you say, we had retail sales. Quite an interesting number always in any economy is it's a measurement of the average spend in the economy type of thing, and it's retail sales orientated. So, but there's a breakdown in that, which I'll just quickly highlight. It brings through things like food, shoes, cosmetics, transport, quite a few sort of sub-indices to go through. Yeah. The number wasn't a great number. It was minus 1.8% relative to the previous year. But also to put it in perspective, those dates to August of this year. Now we're already into October. So one has to think through these numbers when you get them, because this is obviously a sort of a hindsight number. Yes, retail sales are slowing down. So from our perspective is what we do, we have to look at the trend. So what is the trend telling us? And then you take that numbers and you take the retail industry, the Mr. Prices, the ShopRites, all of those, because they give you sort of frequent updates in the sense, what is their retail sales doing? What is their volume doing?
Okay.
And you try and match the two, because they might at the moment say, we've seen increases relative to the last year. Now you've got a decrease number. So you have to gel the two and just remember where it's coming from. But official statistics normally lead to knee-jerk reactions on the market. So a retail sales number might impact a food retailer when food sales is not a great number and suddenly they sell down, but the trend is actually up. It's just a 1 month's number looks awkward. So you have to read these things in context. Yes. And not just the headline number.
So maybe if you could sort of link to an international, I mean, you've talked a little bit about the local guys, the Mr. Prices linked to local data. How do you sort of kind of link international data to international companies in the portfolios that you're managing offshore?
Yeah, Robin, I think a good example for this, and not to go back to the traditional stats that we normally talk about, is let's focus a little bit on Microsoft and PC sales. Now, the PC sales number is also a stat that the global investors look at and say, okay, but PC sales, it's equipment that we use to do our jobs. That's been substantially off. Now, again, there's various factors behind that number. In a sense, we must remember there were chip shortages. So it could be that they couldn't buy because there's shortage. Companies are slowing down in expanding and all those type of things because we see a sort of recession period coming. But on the number itself, Microsoft might get sold down on the day because they provide product that we use on those instruments. Okay. But also, again, to put it into context, is if we look at Microsoft themselves, a global leader in the products that they offer, they've moved away from the dependence on PCs or the PC sale, in the sense, previously you had to physically buy a package per computer to have your Microsoft Excel, Word, and those type of things. Number of years they made the adjustment and saying, listen, we can't rely on this as a volume game. We need annuity income. So they changed it to a concept that you rent it. Plus they changed it from a Microsoft operating system base to include products like Apple, Huawei, and so on. So you can use the Microsoft suite of products, Word, Excel, on all platforms nowadays, even in the cloud. So the adjustment from reading a PC sales number as substantially negative doesn't have the same impact on Microsoft in itself. So that's the distinction sometimes one has to make, and not just focus on that absolute number that comes out. It reminds me of a professor that I had at varsity, and he said, some people get so bogged down in the detail. Was it 1.876%? He said, Willie, always quote up to the sixth decimal, because by the time people figure out that you're wrong somewhere, the stat has moved on. And I think that is what I've taken from that is take the headline number, go and dissolve it actually to see what it's telling you. Take the real business activity, match the two, and that's where the opportunity sits.
And so, Willie, I mean, I think ultimately when it comes to asset management and what we're doing on clients' portfolios, maybe there's the perception that you're sitting there watching the data from day to day. But actually what you guys are really doing is getting to know the companies really, really well, so that you know whether PC sales would impact a Microsoft.
Yeah. Now, if we were buying a company that produces PCs, then same concept. And then you look at the company and say, well, there's a difficult period for them. But it's about the trend. So the headline number for me is always about the trend. What trend is this number highlighting from my previous a year's data, or 2 years, or 3 years? So that's what one has to analyze.
Awesome. Well, Willie, thanks for joining us. I trust you found that very interesting. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and join us next time. Goodbye.